welcome back to the Beauty is Terror podcast.
Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Yay! Today we're going to be talking about reincarnation and one particular case of James Leininger, a child who claims to be a reincarnated World War II fighter pilot. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Are you a skeptic?
Yeah, I always, first I hit X for doubt, and then then I dive in.
Yep, same.
But, given your experience in Salem,
what we talked about in our last episode.
Should we start with that? Because I'm still looking forward to hearing that story.
Oh, yeah, I mean, when we talked about last week, our last episode.
I just want to know what that woman told you were in a different life.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. She told me, it was a guy, sorry. He gave, my friend with the psychic medium, that was a woman, but the person I talked to about the past lives was a guy. Okay. He told me a couple different past lives that he saw. One was, he said non-specifically some form of Eastern European. He said that he saw me as like somebody who was in some kind of like a traveling, like a carnival or some kind of like traveling performance act or like a troupe or something like that. The other one was like a Greek, somebody who was like a higher up in Greek society, like an oracle or something.
Oh my god.
And then the other one was somebody who worked on like with ships or like on a ship. Somebody who would be like a crew member on a boat. And then he said something with that past life I was connected with like dogs somehow. Like I had a dog or I had a lot of dogs. I don't remember. Something with dogs. He saw dogs.
Okay,
which is funny. I'm very much a cat person.
So we've got a circus performance.
Yep.
Performant, and we have crew on a ship.
And then some oracle, a Greek oracle.
Oracle. Okay, so I actually have, some thoughts about this because the oracle thing. First of all, Greek. I don't know if you feel this way. Maybe you do, but ancient Greece is very. I don't know. I feel like we might feel connected to it in a way.
Yeah.
Just the stories and the gods and all of that. Because funnily enough, I'm just reading Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes.
Oh yeah.
And I do love, the stories and the morals and the lessons behind them. And so the oracle thing, I always connected with, INTJ's tendency to foresee the future, but we're not really foreseeing the future. We're only seeing patterns, and then we call it, and then people are like, "Oh my God, you're a magician! Oh my God, you're you're a prophet of the Lord." So I can see that. I can also see the circus performance because first of all, you were in theater, and I don't know, I guess, and the whole it's giving me vagabond vibes, and I feel like people who travel, they're always in search of something, and it always makes me think of in search of truth, and just experiencing all sorts of cultures and all sorts of forms of life, really. So I can see that.
It's also funny, my boss is Serbian, and I told her, I was telling her about this, and I was like, yeah, the guy said that I was like Eastern European in a past life, and she just looked me dead in the eyes, and she's like, yeah, I could see that. I'm like, oh, okay.
I agree, yeah, because you do have good communication with her because you're both direct and no bullshit, and so it makes sense that I can see.
I did look into it a little bit with like the Greek oracle thing. I think it was called... I might be pronouncing this wrong. It's like a Pythia or Pythia. It was like the oracles who would give like prophecies. Like they were like messengers, I think, of like Apollo. And they weren't uncommon. Like, there was always at least a couple, I feel like, at any given time. And they would die very young because of they would inhale, like, the smoke of some kind of, like, plant that they would burn, and I think that it was toxic, so it would shorten their lifespan, so they would go through these oracles every so often. They would kind of, they would die off, and they'd have to replace them. That's a little bit of what I read about that, which I thought was interesting, too.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my past life. I don't know, the ship one, I don't remember exactly where he said that was. That was also, I believe, somewhere, like in, I think I was some form of European in that past life as well, apparently.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Like, I'm now very interested, in hearing his thoughts about me. What was I in a different life?
He used, they weren't tarot cards, but they were like the oracle cards with different pictures on them, and he actually laid out the entire deck in front of me. And I think they were divided into sections, so he would, like, look at one, like, group of, like, 4 or 6 cards or something like that, and that would tell him something, and then he'd go on to, like, another group of, like, cards, and that would tell him something else. The another thing I thought was very interesting is during the entire reading, he was, like, scribbling on, like, a notebook, and he was getting, like, I guess, signs or, like, pictures from these scribbles in the notebook. I mean, to me, it just looked like a bunch of lines, but he was telling me stuff based off of that, too. I was like, oh, all right, that's pretty cool.
So every group of cards was a life?
I don't know. It kind of seemed like it because, and they would all relate to each other. So, like, he would look at, like, one group and he'd say, like, okay, well, this card here and this one together tells me this. And then he would, like, give me a little info. But I don't know if I'm guessing that each corresponded with, like, a past life or something. But then he also told me, he said that his reading also involves a lot of things, like, he could, like, foreseeing the future as well. Like, so he was able to give me a little, like, future advice as well. I'm not sure how that worked at all, but I feel like I should have asked more questions, but it was only a 30-minute session, so I wanted to, hear about my past lives. If I ever did it again, though, I would come with a list of questions to ask.
About the future?
Yeah, it was we kind of did it on a whim, because we didn't know that they were doing these past life readings, and then we're just like, screw it, let's go. But I would have come a little more prepared if I ever did it again.
So these past lives, would you say, just intuitively, because I feel like when someone tells you these things, either it resonates with you, even if, you're a doubter, you're a thinker, whatever, either it kind of resonates with you and then you start wondering, okay, maybe there's something to it, or you kind of feel close to it. I don't know how to explain it. It's an instinct, it's intuitive. Or you just, like, you instantly get, bad vibes or, like, bullshit vibes, and then you're like, nah, this shit can't touch me.
No, I actually didn't get... I kind of went in assuming I would get bullshit vibes, and I didn't really. Like, he seemed pretty genuine. My bullshit meter wasn't going off, so that was kind of interesting as well, because that's kind of what I expected going in. I was like, God, this is going to be like some snake oil salesman shit, but no, I didn't get that vibe at all. I did kind of resonate with some of the past lives that he told me about, considering, like you said, like, I was always really interested in Greek mythology, growing up, like, as a kid especially, and I was like, that tracks, that's pretty cool. But I don't have any connection with dogs or ships or boats, so that one,
I know,
not so much.
Yeah, the ship one doesn't, like, I feel like it doesn't add up, but the first two definitely, I can definitely see that in you.
Yeah,
and
same.
I would say that, it would be interesting to entertain the thought that what if you have this gift, say, oracle, you foreseeing the future, whatever you want to call it, and it's just, it's one of those things, kind of like, how in the Bible some natural, what to call it, like a tsunami, for example. They explained it as a miracle in the days of the Bible because they didn't have any scientific explanation for it,
Right.
or like they didn't know how to explain it otherwise, so it was like, oh, this is God's doing, you know what I mean? So what if it's kind of the same with your gifts in a past life, or in the life before that, the life before that, you know, you were in a different culture at a different time, it was differently perceived, but nowadays it's just,
We have like an actual explanation for it.
yes, or even if we don't know how to explain it, it's perceived differently now.
Yeah,
and it also
exactly.
manifests kind of differently, because now it's more like, oh, you're just giving your outlook about the people in your life, like you kind of play, okay, what's gonna happen next, and you can kind of see, you know, their next steps or whatever. So you're not the village oracle anymore, but but it still manifests somehow.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought of like traits like that passing down through different incarnations.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just like societally, it's perceived differently.
Exactly. It's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah. It was funny. Speaking of the last one, he was like, asked me, it's like, do you have any connections with dogs? I was like, well, I had a dog as a child, but I mean, not really. That one, like I said, that was the only one where I was like, okay, like whatever. But the other two, I was a lot more interested in those ones, especially also the Eastern European one, because I did have an interest also, maybe like 5-ish years ago, of like learning like Russian or Ukrainian or like some kind of Eastern European language. Just on, like, for no reason, really. I didn't have any specific reason why I wanted to learn these languages. So that's also kind of why I thought that was interesting, but...
I would definitely, like, in a previous life, I know for a fact that I had something to do with Italy, because I'm just obsessed with everything Italian. It's...
Yeah. Actually, my boss was saying that she thinks she was a Titanic victim.
Oh, man.
Like, she went down on the Titanic... because it has like very she's very interested in it, or she feels like a connection to it.
I have a friend who's obsessed with everything Titanic, so maybe they were there together.
Yeah, right.
Oh God.
That was actually when I was in high school. That was one of my like special interests, was the Titanic. I did a bunch of like school projects on it and stuff because I thought it was pretty fascinating. So I have, like, you know, I could tell all these random facts about the Titanic unsolicited. Nobody would ask me, but, you know, if anybody wanted a random fact, I'll tell you something about the Titanic.
Yeah. But I feel like also, you know, specifically with Titanic, there was a time that, you know, it was a hit because of, you know, the movie and whatnot, and the Heart of the Ocean and all that. Is that what it was called? The Heart of the Ocean, I think?
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, when I went to Salem, there was like a curiosity shop, and they had like a replica of it in one of the shops. I was like, oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah, so, but I do feel like, you know, there's a difference between that, when, especially us 90s kids, we lived through that period that was just a hit. Yeah. So a lot of people became obsessed with it, but you know, if it's 10, 15, 20, 30 years later and people are still, some people, you know, specifically are still thinking about it, experiencing it, rewatching the movie, you know, researching and whatnot, it's just different, you know, it's a different kind of connection. But also, funnily, I was thinking about it earlier. Let me know if you're the same. I feel like I try to balance it and be very careful with it, but I feel like I have these short-term, or maybe not that short, but short-term obsessions, like stuff that I and
I do the same thing.
Oh my God. And it's just, you know, you become so immersed in the thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's just, I try not to do that, because first of all, I don't want to experience the burnout. If I find something that I'm really into, then I don't want to become obsessed with it, kind of like Beth with chess. I don't want to go there. But also because it's unhealthy. You know, I would prefer to keep whatever it is on
See, that's not how I am. I have long-term and short-term, like, obsessions. Like, I have things where I... like learning French and like French culture and French history, like that's something that's one of my long-term like things I'm very interested in. But then, like you said, I'll go through periods where I'll have an obsession with something. But I will like, I don't know. I'll deep dive in it for a little while. I won't become like an expert in it, but I'll have like little bits of knowledge about like different random topics.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I guess you're right in that sense that I don't really want to like, I don't burn myself out on it, I suppose.
I feel like I became aware of like how dangerous it is if you lose yourself in the thing.
True.
And what I was thinking about, I always, you know, when I think about unhealthy INTJ and like our tendency to become obsessed with certain topics, certain hobbies, certain whatever, it's scary to me to think that you can become so hell-bent, you know, on something like your eyes won't leave. Like basically you keep your eyes on the ball, but in a way that you lose sight of everything around you. So if your peripheral vision is that blurred that all you can see is that one thing, it's just, and it reminds me, I always think about, you know, there's the scene in Queen's Gambit when Beth sits with this guy, I forgot his name, he was in Harry Potter. He was the local champion.
Yeah.
Let's see what his name is, because he was Beltic. That was his name,
yeah.
Harry Beltic. So she sits with him, and he's training her, and they're in her kitchen. She's cooking dinner, and they're talking about, you know, they're poring over this problem on the chessboard, and she's stuck like at one point at a certain place on the chessboard, and he's like, you need to step away from that one particular place on the chessboard because you're missing the bigger picture. And that is, you know, that is something that I always keep in mind, just in general. Sometimes like you get so over fixated on just one thing that you're missing the entire picture. Like it's kind of like when you're looking for an entrance into somewhere, or like an exit. Sometimes it's not, if the door's locked, find a window. You know what I mean? And it would be so much easier. Yeah. And if you have that obsessive trait, you have to learn how to work with it.
Yeah, I find myself slipping into that sometimes too, where I get so hyper focused on something I don't notice other things around me.
Yeah.
So I feel that, yeah. All right, should we dive into this case?
Definitely. Let's talk about this kid.
All right, so from what I gathered, it has been a little while since I watched the video about it. This child, from a very early age, was kind of saying things and drawing things that were a little concerning to his parents, leading them to think that maybe he had some kind of, or he was remembering his past life. I know one of the things was something that he said that he was able to identify the name of the mountain range where his plane was shot down. He would draw like drawings of like a plane crash. He was able to identify the name of somebody who he knew in his past life.
Yeah. So, from what I recall, I was watching this video, and the mom says it started when he was 2 years old. One night at around 3 a.m., he started screaming, "Airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out." Now, when I first heard this, I was like, why is it always 3 a.m. when shit gets weird? This is making me uncomfortable, you know, especially I love me a good exercise movie, but all that shit happens at 3 a.m.
The witching hour.
Exactly. Like, why? But he was, you know, 2 years old, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. Scary, you know, for a 2-year-old to say something like that. So his name, he said that the name of the pilot was James, but he did not remember his last name. When his mom asked him, he couldn't tell her his last name. He also said he flew a Corsair plane. This is a bit later on, when he was, I don't know, 4 or 5, I guess. He said that he flew a Corsair plane and that it came from a boat which he named Natoma. But his father was a skeptic from the get-go. He said this is bullshit. So he did a fact check on the Natoma story to refute it, and the father found that indeed no courser plane flew off Natoma Bay. So then the father was like, all right, this is bullshit. But later on, apparently, he came across a list of 15 people who got killed from Natoma Bay. And there he found a pilot named James Huston. So that's when, I guess, things started, lining up for them. Yeah, so...
Now, one of the videos we will be referencing is the one from Dr. Todd Grant. He analyzed this case as well. And I guess we can just put the link to that video maybe in the show notes so people can look at that.
Yeah.
But he did make a good point. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard this story is, like, the only source is the parents.
Right.
Like, nobody else. I mean, they did say at one point he did meet James Huston's sister, and she claims that this child was saying things that only their family would know, or only that she would know, like, that wouldn't be common knowledge to the public. But I don't know, I kind of have my doubts there.
I find it interesting that, first of all, he first met her when he was really young. The boy, there's a picture of them together, and he looks like 5, 6 or something like that. And so apparently, about going back to the Corsair plane that he claimed to have flown, so they found the mother of James. She was looking for living relatives of this pilot, and then she managed to contact James's, I think she was older. I don't remember if she was his older sister or younger sister, but her name was Anne Barron, and she asked James's mom asked her to send her some photos of her brother.
Yeah.
So she sent a few photos, and in one of them you can see him standing next to a Corsair plane. So that kind of explains it. He didn't flew the plane from Natoma Bay, but he did, flew it before. So, like, in the past, before he was in the war.
Yeah.
So that's when, they started believing, I guess. That was the turning point for them. And the woman, Anne, says that when she met the boy, he called her Annie, and that her brother used to call her Annie. And apparently he also asked her about, going back to you saying that there were things that only he knew. Only both of them knew. He asked her about a painting, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And that is something that only the two of them knew.
Yeah.
So, this kind of stuff I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, that is a little weird. There was some explanations about how he could have heard about, like, the Corsair plane.
Exactly.
For example, like, I think they had gone to, like, a museum or they had seen a display of a Corsair plane around the time when he started saying these things. I think that also, as like a young child, he was already, like, they were exposing this kid to, like, videos or, like, documentaries or shows about World War II pilots.
Although they claim that they haven't. They claim that they haven't. They weren't watching these type of, documentaries or movie stuff about the war with Japan. But, even if they were, I mean, for a 2-year-old, it would have to be a trauma for a 2-year-old to wake up in the middle of the night screaming, "Airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out." This is a major trauma. And for a 2-year-old, I mean, you can barely talk as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
I do believe, like, that children pick up a lot more than we think that they do.
Yeah, that is true. We don't give them enough credit. Yeah.
Even if they don't understand, like, children definitely parrot things that they hear. Like, even if they don't fully understand it, if they hear something, they'll say it. And actually, one of the things that he had said, he had made it was a quote, something he had said about, like, an airplane carrier. It was some, like, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something that was word for word said on a show, from somebody else. This guy had said the exact same line that this child had repeated. And, like, it was something they were like, oh, this is so weird that he would say that. But it was, like I said, it was word for word something that somebody else on, like, a show about fighter pilots had said. Yeah. So it's very likely that he just picked that up from there and was just repeating it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some people are more, like, better prone to mimicking or kind of inheriting other people's behaviors, mannerism, all that sort of thing. But the only thing that I can't explain is how would he know, for example, that he flew a Corsair plane and everything that went on with his sister, like the communication between them and him knowing if this is true, that he knew stuff that only the two of them had known, then this is the smoking gun. Because this is something, you meet a stranger and you have no idea, you have no way, to know that you have this inheritance that is a painting that only the two of them know.
Yeah.
As a 6-year-old, mind
operating on the assumption, though, that she, that this is all legit and, she wasn't in on it and they're trying to just pull one over on the public.
Yeah.
With a reincarnation story.
Yeah, assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know, but also I should say this about reincarnation. I heard this somewhere years and years ago, and it does make sense to me if you're a believer, that kids and old people, due to their age, they are closer to the afterlife, or they are closer to death in a way, because
I've heard that as well.
Either you are just on your way there to meet the angel of death, or you just came into this world, so it's like the two extremes of the spectrum, I guess. So maybe, I don't know, like they say that, for example, children and babies can see ghosts because of that. Which is just tragic because they're not very coherent and verbal at that point, so they can't really tell you what they're seeing.
That's actually funny that you mentioned that. I kind of went down like a 5-minute rabbit hole a couple of days ago because my cat...
oh, God. I hate when that happens.
Yeah,
oh
he keeps, like, looking at, like, things that aren't there. We did discover that he's been very interested in, like, looking at, like, bugs. Like it's summer. It's very hot here right now, so... occasionally we were getting, like, bugs flying in through the window, but he's been staring at bugs. I didn't see them because my vision is absolutely terrible, but I did look up. I was like, what is my cat looking at? Like, is he maybe see? And the people are saying, like, animals can see, like, frequencies and colors and everything that we can't see, but then of course there were some people in the comments saying, oh, your cat or your dog is seeing a ghost. They're seeing something that's not there that we can't detect. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he probably saw a bug. But
I hope so, because otherwise that would be really creepy.
Hopefully my apartment's not haunted.
I hope for your sake, because I don't know. Do you believe in ghosts and demons and stuff?
Not really. Reincarnation I'm on the fence about. I don't think I really believe in, I don't know, ghosts and demons. I'm very much skeptical.
So my logic is basically as follows. Either everything is real
or nothing.
Exactly. Like there's no... Because who is to say, okay, so demons are real, but angels are not. Leprechauns are real, but Santa is not. So, you know what I mean? So either it's all true or, like, possibly true, or nothing is. Either you're a hardcore materialist and the only thing that's real is, whatever I can touch. But
yeah, I don't know. My thing is just believing firsthand accounts of these kinds of things. For instance,
Yeah.
sometime, I think it was last week, I saw a video on TikTok from this woman claiming that, like, this house that I used to live in, or that I think maybe she still did live in, there was a demon in the house, and my baby was hanging out in my baby's room, and it would move chairs around the house, and then I had a priest come in and, like, splash holy water, and he gave me a bunch of holy water, and I would douse my baby in it, and I'm like, this just sounds so fantastical. I'm having extreme doubts about all of this. Like, it was just so over the top. I'm like, okay, this just feels so fake. But
the thing about these stories is that I feel like by the end of the story, they kind of show their ass in you know, they try to convert you or some shit.
Yeah.
So that's a part that I hate. I hate when they present you with this horror, you know, story that makes you shit your pants, and then they're like, but just come to Jesus or like whatever,
yeah.
and
this
then you're
priest
gonna be
magically
fine.
gave me some holy water, and it got rid of the demon, and my baby's fine. And yeah,
Exactly.
like,
And like now I saw the light.
I'm smelling an agenda here.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
that kind of ruins it. But but you know, having said that, I am a believer, I guess. I want to believe that there's something more.
This is where we put the X-Files theme in.
Yeah.
I want to believe.
I want to believe that there's something more out there. I refuse to believe that, you know, it's just that we're just, you know.
Yeah. You don't want to believe that, you know, you go through life living, you know, a couple decades, and then you die, and that's it.
Yeah, but also, I don't know. I mean, if I feel like, you know, why our consciousness, and we are, you know, we're humans. We are. Our consciousness is. It's not all just physical, because I feel like if it was all just physical, then we would, you know, get up in the morning, we would eat, we would sleep, we would fuck, we would procreate, and that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we're always searching for something. Humanity is always, for the most part, you know, it's pushing forward, it's having deep thoughts, it's asking itself, you know, questions of morals and like, what is the meaning of all of this? What is the purpose? Where are we going from here? We understand that planet Earth is, you know, the resources are slowly, very slowly, but are being exhausted. At some point, we won't be able to continue to live here anymore.
Now, in that vein, do you believe, let's hypothetically say that reincarnation is real. Do you believe it's only limited to humans, or do you think animals are also reincarnated? Or do you think that people can be reincarnated as animals?
So, it's kind of, because I feel like it depends on, like, how do I put this? You have to have some format to believe in. So you have, you know, certain religions, and then they have the explanation of how it goes. I do know that, for example, in Judaism, they do, it's not like a main thing. Most Jewish people, like rabbis, if you're going to ask them, no one's going to, you know, start blabbering about reincarnation. It's not super common, but they do talk about something called tikkun olam. And that means that you come into this world with a purpose. And that purpose is to make amends, or like to fix. Tikkun means fix. In the simplest, you know, way of putting it. So you are supposed to do better this time. Essentially, you're getting second chance, third chance, whatever chance.
Okay.
But ultimately, you have a numbered, you know, number chances. You don't
Right.
you don't get like a, you know,
No infinite
exactly
infinite chances.
It's not an infinite loop, but so you have you get to do it better this time. And for example, so going back to how, you know, things may connect or like mirror the way that you used to be in a different life. For example, maybe someone who is a raging, activist for human rights or animal rights could be like a terrible person in a different life that used to abuse animals or like I don't know, rape women, whatever. So this is so in this life you're suddenly very passionate about the thing and you have no explanation for it, but you just have this deep burning desire and fire within you to push in that direction.
Yeah.
So it is believed that and kind of explained that it's either you're mirroring something in a different life, or this is how you get your fix, the closure.
Okay.
So having said that, going back to animals and all of that, it is also believed, I guess, or like part of the theory is that if you go back as you're being reborn into this world as a stone or an animal, it's almost a form of punishment because you get your voice taken from you, or you get your hands taken from you. You get something taken from you, and you're being punished essentially for something terrible that you've done in a different life. So yeah, I guess you could think about it as if you are born into this world as a person, then you're the highest form that you can be in here. And now the question is, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
You're at the top of the food chain. And what are you going to do with it now that you're here?
I did see a really funny comment on one of the YouTube videos. I think it was the one from Dr. Todd Grand, where somebody was like, how come every time we hear about a reincarnation story, it's always like there's something cool, like a fighter pilot or like, something important or like a celebrity. Why do we never hear about anybody being reincarnated and their last life was like the local hobo or something like that? Like,
I know.
It's always like important people.
I know.
The thing, though, that I also think about is how do we reconcile the idea of there being either, like, reincarnation or an afterlife or somehow both existing at the same time?
What do you mean?
Either you're being reincarnated or you're passing on and your soul is, somewhere else.
So, I guess... it brings me back to, just me saying that you have 3, 4, 5 chances to get it right. And then if you're hopeless, then you I don't know, get sent to fucking purgatory or you complete and then, you graduate, you
ascend.
get exactly. And that is it. You get to heaven.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess it would make sense. No?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Some food for thought.
Definitely.
So, what is your conclusion after hearing the story of James Leininger? Do you think reincarnation's real?
I would like to believe so, yeah, but I also feel like if something like this happens within your family or someone you're close to, then I would do a lot more in terms of like trying to document it like day by day, to the point that because time is of the essence, and also it's like you said, we have no like professionals and people to speak for the phenomenon except for his parents. I mean, I'm sorry, but his parents are not very good, reliable witnesses.
There was a thing too saying that apparently his dad had some kind of documents relating to James Huston that he conveniently lost somehow. And you think that if you thought your child was reincarnated from some World War II fighter pilot and you had some kind of like important documents relating to this, that you would probably fucking keep a better eye on them and not just misplace them. So that was a little odd as well. I feel like that kind of makes their credibility drop a bit as well.
I don't know. I feel like I would need to see more more convincing proof.
Yeah. That was the biggest struggle with coming up with stories for this episode, is so many of them were so sensationalized. They felt super fake. They felt, like you said earlier, like they had an agenda. They all just seemed very fishy. This was the only one that kind of seemed like maybe it had a shred of,
Yeah, there was enough to work with.
Yeah.
But still leaving some,
Yeah, exactly.
room for doubt. But
yeah.
One thing that I was thinking about, I don't even know how my brain connected it, but I was thinking about putting this kid under hypnosis and seeing what happens, because when you're kind of leaving the realm of consciousness, it's interesting to see what comes up.
Yeah, I would be very interested to see that as well. Or some kind of like, I know some people do like the past life regression. That's actually, I feel like getting a lot more popular nowadays too. Where like they have that, I think that also involves hypnosis, where you kind of you have somebody who like guides you through it while you're under hypnosis, and then you tell, like, they ask you questions and like it guides you through your past life experiences. I would be very interested to see this child do something like that.
Yeah. And also apparently, so I don't know if you've seen it, but when he was a child at some point, I guess it was more towards his, prepubescent period, and around that age, he kind of disconnected from James Huston. They took him, to make this
out on a boat.
Make this funeral ritual, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was, sobbing and crying as if this is someone that he really knew. Mm-hmm. So either this kid is a very good actor, or that, for example, I have no explanation for, because this kind of reaction is just not normal unless it's someone very, very close to you, or unless you took acting lessons.
Yeah.
This
child does seem extremely intelligent, though. He's very well spoken. If you watch like the videos where they actually speak to him, he does, he comes across as being a very smart child.
He gave me, when I was watching, him speaking as a child, he didn't really speak like a child, to be honest.
No, not at all.
He sounded old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's weird.
Yeah.
That in itself is weird. Like, you hear him speak and it's not really childish.
Yeah.
And apparently he is now, I think he's now, what, 18, 19?
Yeah, something like that.
So apparently he wants to become a pilot.
Of course.
So, why would he want to do that? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Have you learned nothing?
Right?
If reincarnation is real, have you learned nothing? You only have a number of chances, buddy. What are you doing?
All right. Well.
Yeah.
Let's, should we do our recommendations, or our recs for the week?
Yes, we should.
I actually don't really have much. I resubscribed to the Criterion channel. I've been watching a lot of older films on there. I watched a few. I would have to look. If you want to go first, you can, though.
Well, I can talk about this movie that I watched, and we're gonna do. The next episode should be about Miller's Girl, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've seen it with Jenna Ortega, the actress that played Wednesday, most famously known for Wednesday on Netflix. And then the guy, let's see, what's his name? What's his name? Freeman something. Martin Freeman. So Martin Freeman, another reason why I really want you to watch it with me is because the characters that they play, he's an INFJ and she's an INTJ. And you don't see that combo enough in media. but you especially don't see it enough in a form of male INFJ and female INTJ.
Yeah.
So that is the only other couple that I can think of is Normal People. Have you seen or read it?
No. It's funny though because I'm an INTJ and my boyfriend's an INFJ.
You should definitely check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been obsessed for years because of the mythological INFJ guy, but when I remember when I haven't read the book by Sally Rooney, but I watched the show and oh my God, it broke me.
Really?
It really broke me because it touched on all, it pushed all the buttons. And, I've been in this shit for 15 years. I can't believe that I'm saying this, but for 15 years, I was dissecting every corner of this relationship. And then you see it, summed up in the form of a series. And I mean, I can't say that the situation was similar because the two of them were two students going to the same school, same class.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you see it takes you through the relationship between them. I think over the course of like 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But essentially in high school, she was very unpopular and he was the popular kid. And then once they go to college, the roles are reversed. So he's really struggling socially and, just in general, he's struggling with the university mentality. It's not college because it's not in America, but
yeah.
And then she really gets her time in the sun. She really shines. She gets to shine essentially, and.
Okay.
And because college is all of a sudden this more cerebral, intelligent environment, and she gets to do her own thing, and it's beautiful to see. But then also it's really interesting to see how they're changing as individuals, and how it also implicates, or like, I don't know how to call it. It changes the relationship inevitably. But it was the only combo that I could find, the depiction of that combo, except for Miller's Girl. And Miller's Girl is very interesting because obviously it deals with a lot of taboo subjects. It's interesting to see, like, it's very, how would I put this? It's very current. Like,
okay,
everything that it talks about is very current. And yeah, I don't know. It's the relationship between them. Like, her character in general is very interesting. His character, as standalones, they're interesting. His relationship, because he's married. Okay, I'm not gonna say anything else, but he is married. She is his student, and shit gets real.
I'm excited to watch this movie.
I know.
Yeah, I speaking of normal people, I know Sally Rooney is extremely polarizing. People either love her books or they absolutely hate them. So I've been like kind of hesitant to read any of her stuff just because I don't know. It seems very.
I haven't read anything from her, but Normal People has been on my shelf for a very long time. But I just I literally, like, I can't. It sounds stupid, but I'm scared to open that book because I feel like in opening that book, I would be opening and picking that very, deep wound. And it's starting to heal. I mean, it's crazy to think that there's this person who's had such a strong hold on me for 15 years again. And at this point, I truly feel like I've gotten over it.
Yeah.
In general, I harbor a lot of feelings about, INFJ people. And I feel like we should just dedicate an entire episode to INFJ people.
Yeah.
And
we have very differing opinions on INFJs.
They're great in their own way, but just, I don't know, like, just because I had a shitty experience, it doesn't mean that it's true. It's just, my shitty experience.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But also, it's a very interesting combo because I feel like INFJ males have something very feminine to them, and INTJ women have something very masculine to them. So both of them feel, ask your boyfriend if he feels that way, by the way. But I like, how do
I'm sure he'll listen to the podcast. I'm sure he'll let me know.
So I wonder if he can, relate to this, because I feel like, in our, like, INTJ females, in female society, we kind of don't really feel like we fit in. And then I think that for them, it's also like INFJ males. I feel like it's kind of the same as well. I remember I read this comment from an INFJ guy on Reddit saying that oftentimes he doesn't really, like, he feels like society's expectations of him to be very manly, like be into manly, masculine stuff. He's not into it, and he feels like he feels the pressure of it. And I can agree, as an INTJ female, sometimes I feel like I'm a bit exaggerating, but I sometimes feel like, fuck, I am a man, or like my behavior is like a man in a woman's body.
Yeah, and I feel like that's maybe why INFJ males and INTJ females have the potential to get along very well, because of that fact.
Exactly.
I do feel like also that every INFJ male I've met has been, not, I wouldn't say extremely feminine, but they have very much like a softer side to them.
Yes. And it kind of comes off feminine. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's all that. It's almost like yin and yang. You know what I mean? Like, so I understand the attraction, and like how, like, puzzle pieces, essentially. I understand why it's happening.
Yeah.
But having said that, I can't trust them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Give me my ENTP love.
We'll find you one. Don't worry.
Yeah. just a random one. I don't even care at this point. Find me my Benny Watts.
Oh, that's funny. I don't have anything to recommend. I haven't found anything that I have really enjoyed enough to recommend. I did like some of the movies that I watched so far. If I find one before our next episode, I will certainly recommend it, though.
Please. What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading I just started it. I'm like maybe 15, 20 pages in. It is like a Middle Eastern fantasy series. The first book is called Gunmetal Gods. I saw it at a thrift store, and I didn't buy it, but I was like, this sounds kind of interesting. I do like the idea of reading like a fantasy series that aren't set in like a traditional setting, like medieval Europe setting.
Yeah.
So I was like, this sounds really interesting. And I didn't buy it at the thrift store, but I did see that Kindle has it on Kindle Unlimited, so I am reading it right now.
That's cool.
I don't have an opinion on it yet. The writing
How many books is it? Like, how far are you?
I'm only like 20 pages into the first book. I think it's a 3-book series, though, if I remember correctly. But I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'll read this book. Like, the synopsis, it sounds like it's like fantasy bordering on like cosmic horror almost, so I'm excited to see if it's good or not. The writing right now is kind of like, but the plot might pick up, so we'll see.
Have you heard of, there's a book called, it's a duology, but the first book is called All of Us Villains, by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman.
I feel like I have heard of that before.
And then the other one, like the second one is All of Our... And then the second one is All of Our Demise. So I bought the first book. I didn't know that there was a sequel to it, and now I can't find it in the stores, which is annoying. I haven't heard it yet, but I haven't read it yet, sorry. But... I think I'm gonna wait and actually buy the second one before even starting it, because I just hate the idea. I mean, this is happening to me right now with the Atlas thingy.
Oh yeah.
Whatever it's called, the name
The
of the
Atlas
series.
6. Yeah, I don't know what the actual series is called, but...
So I read the first one, the second one, and then like an idiot, I googled the third one, and then I got spoilered.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say what the spoiler is, because then I'm gonna ruin it for you as well.
I'm still I'm slogging through the second book right now.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't formed an opinion on the series yet. The first book, I think I gave a 4-star to, so I'm hoping that the second one will pick up for me.
I feel like I warmed up to it pretty slowly, but by the end of the second book, by the middle of the second book, I was really invested, and then I guess like my enthusiasm kind of died down now, because it's been quite a while since I finished it. But I still want to know what happens by the end of it. But
I'm curious about the plot. For me with that series is I don't like any of the characters. I have not connected with a single character.
You don't like Nico? What are you talking about?
Nico is fine.
Come on.
I kind of like Gideon, not gonna lie.
Absolutely. Jesus fucking Christ. No, I hate him. He's literally the character that I hate most. He's an INFJ, by the way. Fuck him.
Okay, well, maybe my opinion of him will change. Maybe that's why I like him, though, if he's an INFJ.
I hate him because they fucking paired him up with my ENTP boy. Like, bro, no, don't do this. I ship Libby and Nico. That is the only thing that makes sense. What the fuck? It hits me. You understand? It hits me in a very personal spot.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
It's difficult for me because it's Jesus. It's always ENTPs will always go for the feelers. Fucking. Fuck.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode.
I need to calm down. I'm sorry. Like, whoever is listening to this, I'm sorry. But
all right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, next time we will watch this movie, and we'll probably discuss that on the next episode.
So whoever plans to tune in to the next episode, you have 2 weeks time window to watch the movie. Is it?
Yes.
Maybe less. But yeah, go watch the movie so you'll know what we're talking about, and we won't spoiler you.
Exactly.
All right. So thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Or next episode. I guess next bi-weekly session.
Yep.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye.